I want you to watch this. Watch carefully. This is Senator Whitehouse asking an important question about the president and his involvement with some young women.
There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe. I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman.
If you have the file, the binder, filled with information, you should know whether or not he took money from Epstein's biggest supporter, right? Because White House then came out and said, yeah, that's not true at all.
At all. I know Reid Hoffman, that is not true at all.
The files were supposed to expose everything. Names, dates, connections. The kind of evidence that destroys careers and rewrites history. But when they were finally handed over, they weren't handed to journalists. They weren't released to the public. They were placed into binders and delivered directly to a hand-picked group of online influencers at what some are calling a private gathering in Washington, D.C. And the question nobody in power wants to answer is, what was quietly removed before those binders were sealed? Pam Bondi was confirmed as Attorney General of the United States after a career that already raised eyebrows in Florida. Because this is the same woman who was investigating Trump University for possible criminal prosecution until a $25,000 donation landed in her campaign fund. After that, the investigation disappeared, quietly, completely. That's the person now sitting at the top of the Justice Department.
It's former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. What are Pam Bondi's qualifications and bona fides for leading the Justice Department?
She's an actual lawyer.
She was investigating Trump University for possible criminal prosecution until he gave her $25,000, and then all the charges magically disappeared.
I'd like to announce I am investigating Trump.
She is indeed relatively qualified for the role.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's
promising to clean house and deliver justice. She went on national television and teased the Epstein release like it was a product launch. She told Jesse Waters, live on air, that the files would drop the next day.
Right?
Yes, Pam Bondi offended MAGA conspiracy theorists by releasing the Epstein files, phase 1, which mostly contained, quote, files that have been circulating in the public domain for years. She just basically took the Epstein list and was like, all right, we put 2 more cuts on the album. Here's the Paminator teasing the release on Jesse Waters.
You said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk. When can we see them, and what's taking so long to release them?
I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
Could she be lying?
The MAGA conspiracy theorists were also mad about the unusual way in which the Epstein list was released.
The MAGA world celebrated. The conspiracy theorists who had waited years for this moment finally thought they were getting their answers. And then the binders arrived. And what was inside? Mostly documents that had already been circulating publicly for years. Nothing new, nothing explosive, nothing that pointed anywhere sensitive. The people who had screamed loudest for transparency felt the most betrayed. Even far-right commentators called it a disgrace.
Bondi released the files in binders directly to specific online influencers, which infuriated serious journalists like Hercules star Kevin Sorbo, who tweeted, quote, our government used children who were trafficked as a publicity stunt. Disgusting. And our favorite MAGA Muppet, Laura Loomer, she tweeted, quote, I think she should resign. Still no word from Scott Baio. We don't know how he feels about it. We knew it was coming down the pipe because Trump accidentally posted what was supposed to be a DM on the main feed.
Laura Loomer called for Bondi's resignation. Kevin Sorbo accused the government of using trafficking victims as a publicity stunt. But here's where it gets darker, because before the backlash could fully build, something else surfaced. President Trump accidentally posted what appeared to be a private direct message intended for Bondi onto his public Truth Social feed. The message pressured her to prosecute his political enemies. It named names. It called for urgency. It was visible to the entire world for long enough to be screenshotted and shared millions of times. A sitting president in writing, pressuring his own attorney general.
Overnight, an extraordinary statement from President Trump. It appeared to be a direct message to his attorney general, Pam Bondi, but it was posted on Truth Social for the world to see, pressuring her to prosecute his political enemies. The president wrote in part, "Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time. All talk, no action, nothing is being done. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice. They indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now."
See, I'm old enough to remember when that thing right there was an impeachable offense.
And instead of consequences, silence. Then came the Senate Judiciary Committee. Bondi sat before senators as survivor after survivor stood up in the hearing room, roughly a dozen of them, and stared directly at her. She never looked back, not once.
Pam Bondi was shuffling and shuffling. Please just watch. That's how I'd be at Cheesecake Factory. I'd just be turning pages and turning pages. Well, thankfully for all of us, there was a Reuters photographer with a camera with a pretty good lens. Jonathan Ernst got a picture of the notes, and they were basically just cheat sheets listing mean things to say to the senators.
A Reuters photographer captured her notes during the session.
Bondi continued to blow up throughout her testimony. And what was the most damning moment for AG Bondi during this hearing?
When she was finally honest and was like, "Look, I love to protect pedophiles. It's what I was hired to do, and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to fight anyone who says I can't." Do you remember that part?
I do.
I must admit, I was flipping between that and the Olympics, so I must have missed it.
There was a moment where all the survivors, about a dozen of them, stood up, right? And they all looked at Pam Bondi, and Pam Bondi didn't look at them once. That moment right there, I think, ends her tenure as Attorney General.
They weren't policy briefings. They were cheat sheets, lists of personal attacks against the senators questioning her. No preparation, no accountability, just deflection and spin, and the kind of practiced confidence that only comes from years of getting away with it. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse asked her directly, has she seen any evidence linking the president to Epstein? She deflected. She attacked. She accused the senator of taking money from Epstein associates. The senator denied it on the record. Bondi moved on without blinking. And now the whispers have started. Her name is being floated as the next cabinet casualty.
The reason why it's so shocking that Pam Bondi is against defending victims of assault is because she said she would in 2014 during this campaign ad.
Florida ranks 3rd nationally in calls for help for human trafficking, where young women and children are enslaved and abused. I'll fight to put human trafficking monsters where they belong, behind bars.
Pam Bondi, our Attorney General.
That's our Attorney General you're booing.
I'll put human traffickers behind bars. By bars, I mean little black bars on sheets of paper.
Last week, Kristi Noem out on her ear. People were speculating about who's next. The name Pam Bondi keeps coming up. What's Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States? You don't think Judge Janine is looking at Pam Bondi and going, I can do that better than you can do that?
So, Judge Janine is being very emphatic about this issue, and the reason why, CNN's Casey Hunt has a theory.
There's been some conversation around whether Jeanine Pirro is potentially a future replacement for Pam Bondi if the administration is unhappy with her. What do you plan on focusing on with the current Attorney General?
Judge Jeanine Pirro is reportedly being discussed as a potential replacement. The Epstein files, the ones the public was promised, remain heavily redacted. Phase 2 has no confirmed release date, and the survivors who stood in that hearing room are still waiting. The files were supposed to be about accountability, but accountability requires someone at the top who actually wants the truth to come out. So the real question isn't what was in those binders, it's what was taken out, and who made that call. If power protects itself this openly, what exactly are they still hiding? Subscribe to Starscope Daily, because we're not done pulling on this thread.